finish line is quite exciting, I have to say. There is a small difference of 41 points between the top two teams. TF10 is leading FVR, which are the reigning champions, might I add, by 41 points. And that means they are the only two teams that can still fight for the title, as we have been seeing all throughout this season. They have been on each other's toes. We've seen FVR leading, we've seen TF10 leading, and right now their lead is, well, it's quite sizable. But nothing is impossible, isn't it, Joseph? Because you never know what might happen on a track like this.
No, and when we've got a point system that's slightly different, just to throw different things into the mix, then I think we've got a very exciting race on our hands. And if something goes wrong for the championship leaders tonight, then I think it could be all up in the air.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm really curious to see what is going to happen tonight. Also, other positions that can still be fought for. Let's see, P4 and 5, ET8 and NLR are still quite close together. There is 50 points between P3 and P4, which is TTM and ET8. That gap, I think, is going to be a little bit too big for ET8 to cover tonight, especially with the top two teams going all out. That's for certain. Then at the bottom of the table, ABS needs a little bit of a miracle to get off that last position, to get ahead of VRM. Then there's AMR and EVE, not that far apart either. EVE still has a small shot at P6 as well. There's only 16 points in between themselves and TES. However, looks like they're just going to miss out on P5, which is the lowest prize-paying position, so to say. So the best they can do is P6, which already, of course, is a whole lot better than last time round. I think EVE this season has been the biggest surprise, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those teams that I always see as more of an ACC team, maybe even more of a console F1 team, and so I think I mean, a race win. You can't really argue with that in terms of performances, because that is exactly where you want to be. And I mean, two other podiums alongside that. I'd say they've had an all right season, and I think they're set for the next season to just explode.
I mean, if they can pull this trend through, we might just see another championship contender rise either next season or maybe the season beyond that. But that's just a little guess, because, you know, the next season is going to be in the next game. This is the last round in F1 24, and that means the break in between this season and season 6 is going to be quite sizable. So we're hoping you're all going to stick around until we're back in business in F1 25, which is hopefully going to be a slightly better game than we have experienced so far. I'm watching the lobby right now. They're readying up as we speak, so let me quickly introduce the drivers to you tonight. VRM, we've got Jeremy Gallagher, Tristan Derbecourt as usual. Then ETA, you've got MP19, not sure who that is, but he does have hashtag Thank You Frost in his name, which is amazing. Jonas Cryo is his teammate. Then Dennis Langrock alongside Nando Moreira. EVE, you've got Trisk and Giovanni Galiotto. We have got NLR with Victor Whitler, Steven Vaso. FVR have brought Tony Hitala and Diego Zorzo. AMR, I've got Mattia Ramarini, and let me quickly scroll down, Alex Lamas. The rest you'll get from me real soon, because we're currently switching over to trackside to watch the final qualifying of this season and the final qualifying for CSS in this game. Who do we think might be claiming pole position tonight?
Well, I mean, it's one of those where the field is going to be so close together that it could really be so many of these drivers, and well, it's two drivers that it's not going to be. As far as maybe the chat is suggesting, is Thomas Enger Sim Racing. We did wait for them a little while, and the suggestions they might have a qualifying ban. I would back one of the FVR drivers to take that pole position, but that might just be me, just maybe being a little bit more biased towards the fact that they are the team chasing the championship leaders.
Yeah, definitely. They did bring two very quick drivers with Tony Hitala and especially Diego Zorzo, who's already claimed 2 victories from the top of my head this season alone for his team. So they've definitely brought out the big guns. TF10, though, brought out Rens Thomason and Cloud. Both of them are very quick as well. Look at how many drivers are just pouring out of the pit lane. They're all very eager to go on this final round tonight. Leading them is the Steven Vaso for NLR. And right now you can see every other driver who is playing a part in this round. Patrick Pillis and Marvin Golm for ABS, hoping to get them off P10 in the standings. TES have brought Konrad Bohm and Wojtek Steg. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I believe by now we have covered every single team participating tonight. NLR, of course, have been bringing some quick drivers throughout the season as well, Steven being one of them. Victor definitely not very slow either. So they're hoping to bring some extra glory to their team tonight. And ET8, of course, having won last week. They are hoping for a repeat of that and set themselves up for the next season potentially. So, defending champion against potential new champion TF10 versus FVR for the final time. Joseph, I'll let you do the honors of taking Steven Vaso around the track.
Well, Steven Vaso, the Ukrainian driver, will take us away for the first lap of this Yas Marina Street circuit, heading into turn number 1. You just want to be as wide as possible for the turn-in, to be as good as possible, and then on the exit, you don't want to run too wide. We ran just over the curbing, not quite enough to invalidate the lap. Turns 2 and 3, you do not want to ride onto the curbing there, though, because it will fight you back now heading through turn number 5, one of the main overtaking spots, and that's a big slide for Steven Vaso on the exit, and now down to the long straight. Turn 5 is so crucial in order to get the run down here if you're not using it as an overtaking zone. Long straight followed by a heavy braking zone and a sharp turn-in point for the chicane before there is another tricky curb to ride over. Then the DRS is open once again down. You'd call it a straight, but it's more of a curve around the end of sector number 2. Steven Vaso, of course, purples in the second sector because he is the first man to finish a lap or finish a sector. Sector number 2 now. Sector 3, not many overtaking zones, but it's a very technical circuit where the mistakes will be drawn out from the drivers tonight, and just riding as many of the curbs as you can. Don't Latifi it into the wall, and Steven Vaso getting through it pretty okay. A couple of shaky moments in the lap, but we'll see where the NLR driver ends up as he comes around the final corner. It's going to be a 1 minute 21.697. We'll see how that stacks up against the rest of the field, as Jeremy Galonia will be the first driver to challenge it, and he gets a 21.9. Triske goes up to the top of the standings with a 21.6, and Tony Hietala goes 4/10 faster.
Look at that, Tony Hitala definitely putting on the pressure to TF10, who can only manage P4 at best. And look at that, Diego Zorzo immediately claiming second place. And that means they are now locking out the front row. And look at TF10, P4 and P6 at the moment, as NLR has been managed to stack themselves right in between them. Dennis Langrock comes in P7 at a 1 minute 21.7, which is not too bad either. ABS at the moment almost at the bottom of the table, 13th and 15th with Mattia Ramari in between. We see another driver crossing the line. It's, I believe, Jonas Cryo. It is slotting into P5, and that means everybody who was out on track already have been setting a lap time. So far, so good. TES drivers not been able to set a lap time so far. Then, of course, the second ETA driver as well, and Nando Moreira also back in the pit lane. So they are gonna have to try again later down the line. There's still plenty of time though, 13.5 minutes. 16 lap times in, and all 20 drivers in the lobby at the moment. Although I believe I just saw somebody leave. I think it was Nando Moreira. Might have some connection issues from his side. Let's hope those will be resolved, because TTM as well are on a roll this season. They have their ups and they've had their downs, and yeah, a bit of a mixed bag for them. They might have been the title contenders had they been a little more lucky with all the incidents all around this season. But here they are, trying to make the most of it in the final round of this epic season so far.
Yeah, Nando Moreira, a driver with a lot of pace around the circuit, so I want to get him back in as soon as possible. And then just get him underway, because he is somebody who has prowess around this circuit, as the Thomas Enger drivers do serve their quali bands. They retire from the session. They'll start from the last row of the grid. There are only 2 drivers out on the circuit at the moment, both ET8 drivers, Jonas Cryo, who's coming into the pit, and MP, hashtag thank you Frost, which is Marcel Pabst.
It is, yeah, I just found out.
Yes. So
sorry,
there
Marcel.
you go.
I appreciate it a lot. Marcel now on his way with my name and his name, which is quite awesome to see. Yeah, so here he is. I think it's going to be time to follow him for a lap around the track. He's very close to the start-finish line. Let's see what he can bring to the team. They had their victory last week and a few weeks ago as well. 2 victories on the board for them. Austria and Saudi Arabia so far for them. Jonas Cryo at the moment P5. Marcel Papst is gonna start right there as he approaches turn 1. Turns in a nice and easy on the curbs and to the outside of the corner as well. Then, of course, the slingy section, I'd like to call it, as Dennis Langrock rejoins the lobby, thankfully back in time. Few more cars coming out on track, but so far no traffic for Marcel yet. Sector 1 has been completed, purple according to the game. We'll have to take that one with a grain of salt. Then the first of the long straights coming up as he's going to approach the chicane of turns 6 and 7. Let's see how he manages those 2 corners very close to the braking boards, nearly taking them out, but still looking quite stable. Very little trouble with the car and the setup he has picked so far. DRS open once again, hugging the inside of the corner wherever he can as he approaches the long left-hander of turn number 9 right here. Ooh, that didn't really go quite to plan, and he's drifting everywhere. Suddenly the car has gone into the unsettled mode, not something he'd like to see, but he's still, I think, gonna have to try and set a lap time either way, because you'd rather have a banker than nothing at all, so at least you can know what to work towards, as he only's got 2 more corners to go. Is he gonna go back in the pit lane? No. He is indeed gonna finish, but where's he gonna be? 22.2 for Patrick Pillis. He's actually slotting into P12, despite the mistake. He goes 1 millisecond quicker than Alex Lamas. So, yeah, I think it's likely that he might have slot himself into the top 5 had he not made the mistake.
He was looking like he was pushing very hard on that lap, and even around the final corner might have just went a little bit too eagerly into it, and he actually ended up sliding out of the final corner, a little bit like a certain driver in 2021. But we are now with just under 10 minutes left in the session. We have most of the drivers, barring Nana Moreira and the 2 Thomas Enger drivers, who are, just a reminder, have served or are serving a quali ban. They are the only ones not out on the circuit at the moment. Nano Moreira was having connection issues. Both TTM drivers actually having connection issues. Langrock has made it back into the session and he's made it back out on track. He is right ahead of Alex Lamas. He's right behind Marcel Papst, who's coming back into the pit. So he is not going to cause any significant issues for the Ferrari driver. Everybody is on a push lap, and the first driver that will be around to, well, I was going to say cross the line. Triskay comes into the pits. Ooh. He will not be setting a lap time. Rens Thomason coming into the pits as well. So quite a few of them not happy with their laps because they are not the first or the last ones. Marvin Gome coming into the pits. Alex Lamas joining them as well. So they're all filtering through into the pit lanes. And the times that they're getting, not quite the times that they were expecting.
Victor Whitler across the line goes into P6. Steven Vaso a little while ago managed to slot himself in between the FVR drivers. P2, brilliant lap time from him there. Trisk was also busy with a nice improvement, 1.5 tenths in Sector 1. Unfortunately messed up in the final sector, and that has cost him potentially a pole position because he was looking quite mighty out there. Many other drivers also going back in the pit lane. A lot of drivers very unhappy with their second run, except for Cloud, who's managed to claim that second place from Steven Vaso and putting TF10 back in business as he also slots himself in between both of the rival drivers of Tony Hitala and Diego Zorzo. So he's starting to look quite strong out there. Rens Thomason, is back in the pit lane as well. And I believe both TTM drivers are on a hot lap right now. Nando Moreira is actually on an out lap, but Dennis Langrock is definitely going an awful lot faster than that, as he's just managed to go through turn 9. And this Ferrari currently sitting in P10, just behind Jeremy Gallagher and right ahead of Tristan Derbycourt. So pretty much a VRM sandwich for him right there. Just a few more corners to go until he gets himself potentially out of that sandwich, as he would very much like to do. There he goes, one more corner to negotiate. That is turn 16. Do not go to white right there, Dennis, and he doesn't. Looks quite nice. However, it is only a very minor improvement, 27 milliseconds to be precise, and he stays in 10th place for the time being. Then, up next to cross the line, I believe, are both VRN drivers. No, it looks like Jeremy has invalidated, goes back in. I think Tristan has completed his lap as well. Yes, many drivers going slow right now. So I think the only driver on a proper hot lap at the moment is Dennis's teammate, Nando Moreira.
Yeah, Nando Moreira, who needs a time in the session. He hasn't got a singular time so far, not even a bad one. And he now has a lot of pressure on this run, and we shall see where the Ferrari, where the top tier motorsport driver ends up. He gets a 52.1 in the second sector. He's going to be aiming maybe for where his teammate is right now, if not any higher. It's very, very close between about 5th place and about 10th place. There's about a 10th and a half in between them. And, well, minimal improvements can see them rise very, very high up the field. Nando Moreira, I've mentioned before, he is incredibly quick around this circuit and actually won on his comeback to F1 racing, or F1 League racing for TTM. Here he slots himself in 10th place. Not bad for a banker, but at this point in the session, he would have been looking for a bit more. Not too bad, though, because he is in ahead of his teammate Dennis Langrock, who's just come back into the pits. Just under 6 minutes to go in the session, and most of the drivers are either in the pits or on their out laps for their third runs. The second run's not really going to plan for a lot of them, with Cloud the only one to get significant improvements going up onto that front row, 10th behind Tony Hietala. I'm watching on board with Renz Thomason, who is just a 10th down on his time, or up on his time even. He's improving. And we will see where he ends up, because if he continues along this streak, he will be in the top 5, unless he lost a lot of time in the final sector. We'll see where Renz Thomason ends up as he comes around the final couple of corners. Where is the Red Bull going to finish, and where is he going to set a lap time? I reckon top 4, just outside, 200ths outside of the top 4, and he's going to want to go again. Almost exactly a 10th at a Justin Crows. I believe it was indeed. Marvin Gome going up into P8. So improvements are being found, and well, there's a lot of time on the line.
Yeah, they need that for ABS. Now already down to P10. Alex Lamas going into P8 right there. We're watching Diego Zorzo at the moment. Both FVR drivers are on a hot lap as we speak. They are not that far behind one another. It looks like Diego is going to have to manage to get through some traffic. One of the Haas cars just ahead. That is Mattia Ramarini, who has decided to not move out of the way only until very, very late indeed, with Diego now coming round the final corner. Can he get back on the top? Yes, he does, and by quite the margin against his teammate. Tony is also on his way, of course, but he was almost 2/10 slower in the middle sector and therefore dives back into the pit lane again. However, he's still on the front row, just showing how mighty his first actual lap was. His rivals, however, are on a hot lap as well. Steven Vaso being the closest of the lot at the moment in Sector 2. What's his improvement right there? Well over a 10th quicker through Sector number 2. He might be on his way to try and attack Diego's position right there. Tony Hitala's position is definitely under threat from Steven. And they have risen quite late in the season, to be fair. They've shown why they were just champions 2 seasons ago. They are starting to shine a little bit more than they had done at the start of this particular season. Steven Vaso then for the team round the final bend. What's he going to do for them? It's a 21.188, almost 2/10 quicker, but still just under a 10th slower than Diego Zorzo. Next to cross the line, I believe, is his teammate Victor Whitler, 15 milliseconds quicker in Sector 2. He's going to find a little bit of time then in Sector 3, quite a lot of time, in fact, in Sector 3, and goes all the way up to P8. Then next to cross, never mind, it was going to be Cloud, but he's decided to dive back into the pit lane. Let's see how the other drivers are doing. Diego, there he is, coming back into the pit lane as well. I believe Giovanni is on his way. No, he's invalidated, so he's going to have to try again at the final run, which is, I believe, is coming up very, very soon.
Yep, the final run's being prepared for now with just under three minutes left in the session. They're going to want to get out in maybe the next 40-odd seconds if they're going to want to have a realistic chance of coming around, which is a quick turnover for the likes of FVR and Diego Zorzo, who's going to have to now try to just come in, come out straight again. Although to be fair, a 21-0, with that advantage he has over the rest of the field, he could be happy with that. That could be his final lap. His teammate Hietala coming straight out of the pits, and he's going to try to improve back onto that front row. FBR have come to fight tonight, and Zorzo and Hietala are looking racy.
They do indeed. As I was watching Tristan Derbecourt just drifting his car onto the straight to make his rear tires. Look at that. He's very enthusiastically weaving that car left and right to make those tires as hot as possible. Steven Vaso, of course, has done his final run. P2 is going to be the best position he can achieve, but I'm afraid that position will not last. There's some drivers behind him that are very eager to steal that position from him, especially Tony Hietala, who wants to be on the front row with his teammate, because as long as they're close together, they might try and dominate the TF10 guys currently in P4 and P6. They are close together as well, so we might potentially see a very tactical and strategic battle for the most possible points, especially FVRs. They need a very, very tactical battle tonight to try and steal that first position in the last gasp possible, which of course is this round. With just over a minute remaining, everybody is currently trying to get to the line in time. Tony Hietala is definitely in time. Tristan Derbecourt, of course, on his way as well. We're currently watching the Finn in the Mercedes going through Sector 1. What time is he going to fight in that first sector? 62 milliseconds. That is already getting awfully close to provisional pole position. Going through turn 5, then on to the first back straight. DRS wide open. He's going to try and give it his all to try and squeeze Steven Vaso from the front row. They do not care about NLR. They do care very much about TF10, because they are about to claim that title from them. The title they had won in quite dominant fashion last season. The Mercedes team, they were in the Mercedes last season as well, as were TF10 in the Red Bulls too. A very interesting rivalry so far. Well over a tenth quicker now through sector number 2. He's getting awfully close now to his own teammate's provisional pole position, but Diego is on an outlap as well. So it might be a very close match between the two teammates, but they do not want to fight each other. They want to fight the other teams, and that 1-2, no matter which driver is in front, is absolutely key and crucial as Jeremy crashes out, I believe, just after turn 2. His qualifying then over in P14, the best he can do. There comes Tony Hietala, 3/100ths of a second quicker than his teammate, and once again a 1-2 for the FVR team. But now, Joseph, it's going to be a nail-biting moment for the team, because the rest is on their way as well.
Yes, Rens Thomason improving by 1/10.5 in the second sector, and he's going to try to find some more time. If he can find 0.3 of a second, he can be up there competing with the two FVR drivers. He's going to come around the final corner, throwing everything and trying to get onto this front row as the checkered flag is waved. He's not got enough. It's 4th place. Cloud has improved by just under 1/10 of a second, but he had a better time than Rens. And if he can find his time in the final sector, he's going to be challenging for that front row. Marcel Paps goes into 5th. Cloud is in 3rd. He is not done enough to get onto that front row. P3, though, he's going to be able to challenge just right behind Triske out to the line in 8th place. And Derbecourt will be the last one across the line, unless Giovanni Galliotto, who's invalidated his lap, is going to do anything. Cloud coming right so close to Hietala and Zorzo at the end. But it's a 1-2 for FVR, and they will take that advantage into the race.
Definitely, yes. I just saw Diego invalidating his final attempt, but it doesn't matter anymore. They have that front row lockout they wanted. And crucially, they are now seeing that TF10 are not together. They've got 2 cars in between them of Steven Vaso and Marcel Paps, and neither of them care about the championship battle. Both of them have got not much to lose anyway, so they're going to try and go for that victory anyway, which might be a threat to both TF10 and FVR at the same time. So that is definitely going to be very interesting to watch indeed. But yeah, that does conclude qualifying, and the results are as follows. Hopefully it does show on the screen on time for me to read it out as quickly as possible. I'm just watching a black screen right now with a timer counting down already, which is not very ideal to say the very least. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to watch the results anytime soon. There's only 7 seconds remaining for me to get a proper screen, so I'm afraid that's pretty much a bust. Ends now. That's a shame. Oh well. Most important thing is front row for FVR, Cloud for TF10 on 3rd position, and Steven Vaso P4, Marcel Paps P5, Rens Thomason P6, Jonas Cryer for ET8 P7, then Trisk P8, Victor Whitler, P9, Giovanni Gagliotto, P10, then Dennis Langrock, Marvin Golm, Alex Lamas, Nando Moreira, Tristan Debecourt, Jeremy Gallagnier, Patrick Pilles, Mattia Ramarini, and of course TS drivers of Wojtek Steg and Konrad Bohm starting at the back of the field.
Yeah, Thomas Enger not having, well, what they would have wanted. It's partially their fault for not turning up on time, but they will be trying to fight forward as much as the drivers at the top will be scrapping away. It's going to be a very intriguing fight because the field is kind of shaken up a little bit. Not just with, well, I mean, of course, we've got FER and TF10 as per usual up right at the very top, but we've got we got Nando Moreira. He's further down the field. We've got a few drivers who are lower than expected. And of course, the two Thomas Enger drivers, it goes without saying that they are incredibly quick. And, well, you look on that, you look at the flip side, Stephen Vaso in the top 4 on the front 2 rows, we've got a race on our hands.
Oh, definitely. And if it's something, the last 3 races, something to judge by. We've seen Stephen Vaso being very fast over the last few rounds, very feisty as well, but he just got really unlucky with all the incidents happening, especially on round 1. Where he just lost his chances to win the race. So he's going to be very eager to get to that position once again and hoping for a nice end of the season for the team as well. Let's draw up the standings once again. You can see right there, NLR definitely got something to fight for. They've got ET8 as their nearest rival. The team which just so happens to also have 2 very fast drivers tonight in the top 10. So that battle is another one to watch out for. Of course, TES have got a mighty job now from the last positions to keep EVE away from that P6. Of course, neither positions pay the prize money anywhere, but it's still nice to finish ahead of the other team. So they've got a big fight on their hands, especially with Trisk and Giovanni, both actually qualifying in the top 10. Once again, underlining the big improvement the team has made over the last few months. TES, to be fair, very quick, yes, but they've had a little bit too many qualifying and race bans than they probably should have had. So yeah, I think they could have been a bit more higher than that had they been able to race in qualifying a little bit more, to be honest.
Yes, and well, that's not ideal when you're starting on the back foot already. And for some of those drivers, I'm sure they'll be hoping to come back next season in F1 25, hoping to challenge for the championship. Of course, F1 25 will shake everything up in this league, and it could see some drivers reach the top that aren't even anywhere near the top with a new... every single year they advertise a new handling system. Whether we will get one or not is another question. Yeah, new handling system, new everything. No glitches, hopefully, fingers crossed. Never going to happen, but no glitches. And yeah, new game, a whole new era for Formula One sim racing, and can't wait to get our teeth sunk into it for the next season 6 of CSS.
Yeah, exactly. Just, of course, to note that pole position also pays points in this series. 2 points to be precise, which means that FER just gained on TF10 by 2 additional points. They are now on 392 points instead of 390, reducing the gap to only 39 points instead of 41, which is still sizable. They still need a little bit of a miracle from their own side and TF10 side as well, because, yeah, they need to score so many points, and they need TF10 to just fall behind a lot. I believe, if I remember correctly, Ace told me that if TF10 finishes no lower than P3 and P14 for both drivers, they will still have that title in their hands no matter where FER is going to finish. So that is something that the Mercedes team is going to have to keep in mind for this final race. I'm trying to figure out whether the lobby has been reset. I believe it has been, so I'm going to try and rejoin now. To make sure it is actually back up in business. It is, which is excellent. Many drivers in already. All 20 drivers are going to be able to race. There have been, I believe, no race bans so far. Just watching the steward decisions. No, only some penalties have been removed and added through appeals, and it looks like everything other than that is perfectly fine. Speaking of penalties and appeals, some drivers were hoping that the stewards will be able to get them out tonight. But, you know, they are not miracle workers, and therefore, if there's many incidents, that title might have to wait a little bit longer than tonight.
And of course, you know what some of these team managers are like. I'm sure this will be waging on until we get to season 6 in F1 25, with all the appeals they're going to attempt to put in, and well, God forbid any of their drivers get any penalties. But yeah, we're getting ready to get going here in Abu Dhabi, and well, overtaking opportunities galore in sectors 1 and 2. It's going to be a test in sector 3, especially on lap 1, to see if they're all able to just get through it comfortably, because it can throw some curveballs your way. The grip that they have, the traction that's on offer, is slightly unpredictable, and so you're going to have to get that last sector pinpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, tire strategy has to be on point as well. Which driver are you going to pit at which precise lap? Going to be absolutely crucial, especially for the top 2 teams to nail pretty much everything, and hope that the other team makes a little bit of a mistake. I see that neither TF10 driver has joined. Never mind, there is Cloud just joined the lobby there. That means we're now only missing 2 more drivers, and then of course the grid still needs to be set up, and then we'll be on our way for the last time. 29 laps of Abu Dhabi racing coming up right here. I wonder, are we going to see any surprises? I do think, to be honest, that we're going to see a lot of fireworks, not only between the top 2 teams, but between the rest as well.
I'm sure we are, with all the teams. Maybe if they're not even fighting for the championship or fighting for any sorts of positions, they're fighting for glory, because they want to give their teams and they want to give themselves the best possible showing before the season rounds out, and they want to they want to end it on a high. And I think there's quite a few drivers who are capable of doing just that. I mentioned Nando Moreira's pace around Abu Dhabi earlier. Don't count out both the TTM drivers in terms of raw pace. I think they can be fighting up there, even if the qualifying wasn't quite what they would have wanted. And they're not the only ones, of course, on this field. We have a very, very quick field in front of our eyes tonight, and it's going to be great to see. And yeah, it's just, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, I think, with a lot of these drivers. And I think there's going to be a lot of dicey racing. I think there's going to be a lot of towing the line, as it were. But all in good fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're going to need a poll in the YouTube chat to let's see which thing they would vote for. Do they think in the chat that FVR can claim the title with a 39-point deficit on TF10? Yes or no? Let's hope that poll will be coming up if somebody is able to do that, so we can see what the viewers actually think of this championship battle. 39 points. I've seen some questions asked in the chat how many points you can roughly get in one race, and I think, Joseph, you're actually correct, 68, because 35 points for P1, 30 for P2 means 65. Then there's 2 points for pole position, which they've already claimed, 67, and then the fastest lap makes 68 for the maximum amount of points for a single team to gain. So that's a lot of points. Yes, 68 is more than enough to close that 39-point gap, but that does mean that TF10 needs to score only a very few points to make sure they can actually overhaul them. What happens, though, if they end equal on points? Let me have a quick look at the standings to ensure you of what will happen then. Should the teams end on an equal amount of points, that means FVR will actually win the title because they've got 2 more wins than TF10. TF10 have got 2 wins this season. FVR have got 4 wins so far. And they might well be on their way to a 5th win tonight in Abu Dhabi, which will definitely give them the title should they end on equally. We're on our way right now. Countdown has started, so I think tensions are going to rise.
I think they are. I'm going to back, I reckon, FVR to get max points. That might be because I love a competition. I want to see them close together. But yeah, I'm backing them to get all 68 points away from this weekend. Of course, they've started well with those 2 for that pole position. They've got two drivers right up the very top. And I think they are going to be trying to hold it right so close to the championship leaders at the moment. And I think it's going to be all down to how TF10 perform as to who wins this title.
Apology for you becoming a spreadsheet, by the way. I just noticed apparently I opened a second tab and that, of course, just completely overrides your face cam. So yeah, you were a spreadsheet for a moment there, but at least we have our information about the situation at hand. We are on track right now. A very excited crowd, as you can see right there, waiting for the race to get underway. All of them are selecting, or at least the drivers are selecting the setups, not the people watching there. Would be quite weird. Drivers selecting their setups and the tires. I think most drivers are going to go for hard to medium, as mediums, I've experienced, at least for myself, are only lasting a very short distance if you use them as the initial tire to start the race with on stint 1. So the hard tire might be the wisest option, but maybe somebody has decided to be brave and try something else. Of course, rain, we can pretty much throw that idea out of the window. That will not happen. And then we're going to watch now for the finale. Round number 12 in Abu Dhabi. Front row lockout for FVR. What's going to happen in turn 1? We'll find out right about now as they all get underway quite well. Tristan Debercourt apparently now is P1, which of course is not right. The FVR guys do keep P1 and 2. Looking quite nice indeed. Steven Vaso. Then in P3, Cloud and Rens P4 and 5. And I'm wondering if there might be a lobby restart because Tristan apparently is far ahead. Never mind, actually fixed itself, which is brilliant. So everybody's back in their proper position. P4 temporarily there for Trisk, who wants to mingle them himself for that race win. There comes Steven Vaso. He's going to try and harass the FVR guys, but they pretty much boxed in that RB car. Brilliant. Oh my goodness. In the background though, Marcel Pabst just kind of destroys something at least on his car, but the front wing looks just fine. He nearly bumped into the sky right there. Almost turned a big disaster for the Aston Martin there, and he loses several positions. Steven Vaso has at least managed to get past one FER driver. In the meanwhile, he started on the medium as well, so he does for now have the faster traction, the faster car. But it looks like Tony Hitala absolutely doesn't want Steven in between them. They want to dominate the field. They want that P1 and P2, and for now, they've managed to defend it beautifully against Steven right there. Trisk on his way as well. Let me quickly show you the tires. Quite a few drivers actually decided to go for the mediums. In the top 5, it's Trisk and Steven who've decided to go for the softer and faster tires for the first stint. And other than that, everybody else on the hards in that top 5. But lap 1 complete. FVR lead still 1-2.
Yes, and they just look like they're just going to try and hold on to this one regardless of who's fighting behind Steven Vaso. So close to the back of Tony Hitala. He could be jinking for a move down into turn number 5. He's sending it late on the brakes. Who's going to be better on the traction? It's going to be Hitala who retakes that P number 2, and they're going to continue to scrap throughout this race. I think TF10 are in 5th and 6th. They don't really need any more positions. They don't need to take any gambles. Vaso to the inside of Hitala. He could be trying to get Zorzo as they head into the chicane. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It's Zorzo who gets out on top, and the exit goes to Hitala, who's going to try to sweep back around. It's a bold move from Vaso. It could just work. It's 3 wide as they head through, but it's not 3 wide involving Vaso. It's 3 wide for P2. Hitala, Zorzo, and Triske all sending it for that 2nd place. Who's going to come out on top in this one? It's the 2 FBR drivers holding on to these positions at the moment. Steven Vaso, though, has taken the lead in this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
And that's exactly what FVR doesn't want to happen. It just showed by the way they were defending so hard against Steven. Even though he has the quicker tire and will be slower down the line, FVR wants to take all out. No risks whatsoever. They want that 1st and 2nd place for the maximum amount of points. But they do know that with these positions that TF10 are holding, P5 and P6 that is, they will not get the title. As for the poll, I can see it's 50-50, believe it or not, for TF10 and FVR claiming the title, according to the chat. 9 votes versus 9 votes. And there comes Dennis Langrock trying to make TF10's life a little bit more difficult. A little bit of wheel banging going on there as well. Dennis just squeezes through in the middle of the Red Bull cars. Is he gonna try and take another car? No, he's gonna get boxed in just like FVR did against Stephen Vaso, but he dives with an almighty dive bomb, bumps into Trisk. No surprise there, of course. That was way too deep. Thankfully for himself and Trisk, no damage done. Both drivers can carry on their race, but Dennis Langrock has lost at least 4 positions right now. He's no longer under threat though, but look at that. Marcel Paps trying to threaten the TF10 team as well. He's on the hard tires. In the meanwhile, his teammate Jonas Cryo has overtaken, or tries to overtake, Alex Lamas for P10. He's gonna have to go around the outside. Will it work? They nearly come together with the wheels, but it looks like beautifully done there for the second ETA driver. Just ahead of him, some more fights going on. Look at that. They're all so close in the middle of the pack at the moment. If they are not careful, they will lose DRS to the top 9. Jonas is just barely hanging on, 7/10 away from Giovanni Gagliotto for EVE. Behind them, it's Tristan versus Konrad Bohm. Both TES drivers have made up several positions already, and they're still together. They could potentially form a threat if they can cut their way through the field as they are right now for the front guys. Steven Vaso still leads from Tony and Diego as we have just started round number 4.
Yeah, we could learn a lot from the Thomas Enger drivers on how to work together as a team. Heitala and Zorzo definitely need it, as Steven Vaso at the moment putting up a 1-car battle and actually looking the more comfortable out of the top 3 at the moment. Heitala does retake that race lead, but Vaso's going to have a whole stretch of DRS, and if he wants to retake that lead, he so can. He will maybe look for it or maybe just tuck back in. He is going to tuck in, sitting behind in that FVR sandwich, just in P2 at the moment. And Vaso very happy to just stay there. Wojciech Steg, in the meantime, is in the lead of an absolutely ridiculous battle for P11. He leads Marvin Gomes, Alex Lamas and Tristan Derbicourt side by side. Konrad Bohm trying to make it 3 wide in the 3rd sector as he tries to catch back up to his teammate. Lamas and Derbicourt, though, they are just side by side, which means that Bohm cannot find an opportunity through there. Still side by side. This entire sector has been dominated by Bohm and Derbicourt side by side. And that is Marcel Paps with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Konrad Bohm still holding that outside line on Derbicourt. It switches to the inside for turn number 1. Bohm might try to get past Lamas as well. He indeed does. What a move that is from Konrad Bohm. Derbicourt trying to make the move on Alex Lamas as well on the exit. The Haas's exit was compromised, but Bohm with an incredible move. Probably the move of the evening. It set up a 3-wide maybe, with VRM on the outside and the inside, AMR in the middle, and Derbicourt past Lamas. Galonier is going to try to get through as well, so is Ramarini. But looking further up, the race lead has been switched once again. It's a little less carnage up there, but it has so many more title implications, and Steven Vaso takes P1 back. It's almost 3 wide into the chicane. Derbicourt and Lamas still fighting away. Bohm still sensing an opportunity, and there is your opportunity, Konrad Bohm, if you so want to take it, and he indeed does. He's boxed in though. It's almost 3 wide once again. Can Bohm get around the outside? Yes, he can. Lamas has the straight line speed to get up into P13. Derbicourt and Bohm are side by side still as they head through sector 3. These two cannot be split at all. Galonier trying to come in through. That's a bit of carbon fibre flying off somebody's car. Not sure who. Lamas and Derbicourt still side by side. That is Derbicourt up into P13. That is Bohm in P15 still. And it's 3 wide for 15. You will not believe your eyes, as that's a Haas off the road. Losing the position, Alex Lamas dropping behind Konrad Bohm. We're on lap 6, and the action has barely stopped.
We're on lap 6, they're fighting for P13, and not to mention that Konrad Bohm has been making that overtake in turn 1 a lap ago with a little bit of front wing missing. The left end plate of his front wing has disappeared, and that means he's got a little bit less downforce, and despite that, he's still making all of these moves, still trying to fight for P13. However, all of this fighting has caused them to drop behind quite severely, and now their battle for the top 10 has become quite difficult. There's a small group ahead of them. Those are Marvin Gomes and Wojtek Steg. They've managed to escape from the carnage happening behind, but despite all the fighting, no big things have happened so far, other than a few pushes off the track, a little bit of damage to the front wing of Konrad, but other than that, it looked quite decent and quite hard racing so far, but fair fair what's fair so far. They're looking quite strong out there indeed, but now they've got a lot of catch up to do to the top 10, who are still all together, from Tony Hitala down to Jonas Cryo. All of them are still within 1 second of each other. In the meanwhile, the mind games continue for FVR. They are still leading 1 and 2. Steven is still throwing spanners in the works. So is Trisk, trying to mess around with the championship contenders at the front. They are right in between the two rival teams at the moment. TF10 haven't got a care in the world. I believe actually they want to cheer on Trisk and Steven. Look at that. Trisk is suddenly losing a lot of traction out of turns 1 and 2. Lost 1 position, might lose another one. That's another bit of bad news for FVR right there, as they now hold P4 and P5. Trisk is starting to lose the grip of those medium tires, which are dropping off already by this point, which might spell disaster for Steven Vaso as well. Once again, on the back straight, who's gonna come out best right here? What's Trisk going to do? Is he gonna defend? He's gonna have to defend, because there is Marcel Pabst bumping into the gearbox of the Alpine right there, as we were watching it from the front wing of the Aston Martin. Beautiful camera angle right there. Perfect moment actually to get that camera angle. We can see FVR swapping positions. No surprises there. That is teamwork at its peak. Of course, the real deal comes in once the pit stops start to happen. Both championship teams are on an equal starting tire. Now the question is, when will they pit? What kind of strategy is going to work best? Is TF10 going to risk an undercut, or are they going to pull it out long and get fresher tires by the end of the race?
Yeah, I think the next few laps are going to be crucial for the likes of Steven Vaso. Is he going to be able to hold on to those tyres? That my assumption would be no, because of the fact that he's been fighting so hard so early on, and that means that the TF10 drivers will be baying and looking to get up into P3 and P4 as opposed to 4th and 5th. They've done well so far to get up into those positions, and well, they're just keeping it nice and clean. They don't need to go over the top. They don't need to go for any dramatic moves. They're just going to stay exactly where they are, and Triske, just behind them, has not had the pace over the last couple of laps. He's just dropping off now. I think he's pushed a little bit too hard too early on, and now he's suffering the consequence. He could get overtaken by Marcel Pabst with that DRS. He indeed does get overtaken by Marcel Pabst, but he's going to fight him a little bit more as they head into the chicane. That is Marcel Pabst through. That is ghosting from Triske. So there must have been contact between the two drivers, but in the end, that is Marcel Pabst up into P6. And Rens Thomason, in the meantime, made it past Steven Vaso. The chase is on now for TF10, and Cloud is going to try to get past Vaso. It's going to be a 2 versus 2 right up the very top of the field. And Thomason and Cloud versus Zorzo and Hietala. Bring it on.
Definitely, yes. Steven Vaso's tires have been cooked already, and that means it's only a matter of time before Cloud's going to get past as well. And then for the umpteenth time this season, the two championship leading teams are at each other's throats. There goes Steven Vaso, the first pit stop, official proper pit stop, I have to say, of this race so far. As he's going to go long on those hard tires, tries to place a big undercut. Same goes for Giovanni Galiotto, who comes in as well. Konrad Bohm has decided to get himself out of that big group of fighting cars to swap tires, maybe replace his front wing, although I doubt he has to do that because he's been absolutely brilliantly fast, even with a damaged front wing. So then, lap 9 out of 29. The top two teams all together. Marcel Pabst just behind. Trisk starting to lose out on those mediums. Dennis Langrock just behind the Alpine. There is Jonas Cryo on hard tires as well. He's going to try and get past Dennis Langrock and potentially Trisk as well. No, looks like the Ferrari's got a bit more straight line speed than the Aston Martin. He's going to have to slot in behind once more, losing some extra time through chicane because he's got now a lot more grip than both the Ferrari and the Alpine. Is going to have to try and make the move here, but it looks like both cars ahead of him have got a lot more straight line speed. There goes the Ferrari on the Alpine. What's Jonas going to do? He's gonna stay behind for a little while longer as they fight, and the gap increases more and more. It's now over a second. Dennis Langrock has lost DRS to the top 5, who are now all on their own. The top 2 are in there, as is the odd one out, which is of course Marcel Pabst, trying to mess a little bit more with them. They are going to go a little bit longer, of course, on those hard tires. They will last quite long indeed. Dennis Langrock comes in. Same goes for Trisk. They're going to undercut the top 5 as well. That means we'll see them leading the field once all the pit stops have happened. But for now, though, FVR versus TF10, the battle is getting quite hot.
It's definitely heating up here under the lights in Abu Dhabi. And, well, we should be seeing some crazy fighting in the next few laps as FVR try to hold up TF10 as much as they can, try to slow them down into Marcel Paps and Jonas Cryo. The two ET8 drivers could have a huge effect in this championship battle. But as we're a third of the way through the race, I think it's going to be decided in the pit stops. In terms of this race, in terms of who comes out on top as FVR, if they can get this strategy right, they can hold back TF10 in that last stint, as mentioned by Angelo Dortenzio in the chat. I don't think it's worth slowing them down yet, Angelo. I think they should wait until after the pit stops. When it's all said and done, they're going to go for an undercut, I believe, so they can get that track position and just come out on top. We shall see, though, what the engineers at both of the teams are going to look for, and we shall see what they decide to do. It's very, very close. It's very tense, and this is not when you want to get these calls wrong. You just want to, I think at this point, play it safe. I think the TF10 will be looking at FBR and trying to match the strategies. So as soon as one of them dives into the pit, one of the TF10 drivers will follow them in, I think. So there's that advantage will be alleviated and it will not be as powerful. We're seeing, by the way, a strong fight around the final corner between Patrick Pillis and Alex Lamasse. They're just both pushing each other through the final sector, not contact-wise, but they are pushing each other to the very limits of the circuit. Pillis making his way through to P number 9 as they both had moments off of the track in the final sector. Lamasse could be looking to the inside line. He's not, but here comes Galonier down the inside. He makes a huge move, and he's up into P9, and that opens the door as well for Steven Vaso on those fresh tyres to try to come into this battle. It's going to be 3 wide as they head down. It's almost going to be 4 wide as they head down to the chicane. Who's going to come out on top? It's the track position at the moment for Alex Lamasse, and it is Alex Lamasse who comes out on top in this one. Steven Vaso holding P2 with the fresher compounded tyre, and he's now going to try to continue to scythe his way through the field. He could still have a very, very strong effect in this battle for the lead of this race, but he needs to scythe through these drivers quickly. He's made his way through nice and quickly on Lamasse. His next target, 7 seconds up, as there's contact. What's happened to Steven Vaso?
Well, it's Alex Lamasse deciding to keep his car there, even though his tires were much older. That caused himself to get damage to the front wing, Jeremy Gallonier as well. Not sure what Alex Lamasse's plan was, but it didn't work. Steven Vaas has gotten past anyway, but he will not be too happy what will happen there. There goes Alex Lamasse. He had to pit anyway. Goes into the pit box to get rid of those ancient medium tires, so to say, to go to the fresh hards. Dennis Langrock now with the fastest lap of the race, but Steven Vasa effectively now, I think I can safely say, the race leader. 3-lap old hard tires right there, right behind him. Jeremy and Patrick are still having a good old time fighting for what is currently P10 on the leaderboard right there. There comes Patrick trying to go the inside. That is quite feisty there from the men of the ABS team. They are desperate to score more points than VRM. They have got that last position they want to get rid of. In the meanwhile, at the front of the field, Diego and Tony swap positions. But this is a very hectic battle because there's Dennis Langrock. Wow, look at the drivers behind them. Trisk there on those fresh hard tires. Wants to get past, gets pushed out of the way. And down the drain his race goes. He was on for pretty much a good chance on a podium position, but contact between himself and other drivers has caused him to drop fast. Dennis Langrock at least has gotten past. Giovanni Galiotto furiously moves ahead of Patrick Pillis. Very angry, of course, about what happened to his teammate. Now he is the lead EVE driver, trying to chase down the Ferrari of Dennis Langrock. Patrick Pillis and Jeremy Gallonier right bang in the middle of them. They were fighting for their own positions. There's Trisk once again on the VRM driver. What's he going to do right there? He's going to go around the outside in turn 15. A very rare move there indeed, but he does so. Of course, his tire is much, much fresher, and he needs to get past. He needs to get as close to Patrick as possible to get some extra DRS and stay close to his teammate. He does go, though, a little bit wide in turn 1. Not something you want an extra warning to pick up for him right there. But yeah, not really working out for those drivers who pitted early because they have to fight their way through a lot of traffic. Sure if Joseph is still there.
I
there
just
you are.
muted myself. There we go.
I see.
Medium hard, definitely not the strategy to go for today. Instead, it was 100% the hard mediums. And that is being demonstrated by the fact that those at the top are so far ahead at the top. Stephen Vaso, over 5 seconds behind Tristan Derbicourt. Yes, he has cut that down by 2 seconds in that last lap, but I don't think he's going to be in sync with the rest of the field. However, when they all come into the pit, he will try to fight as hard as he can to hold on to those positions, because of course it will be for position rather than for glory. And well, with some of the defenses he was putting on earlier, we could be seeing some incredible battling, and we could be seeing the NLR driver just right up into the mix, trying to fight for those podium positions right towards the end of this race. It's going to be a great race, regardless of any championship. And at the moment, we're just in a lull as we reach the halfway point of this race. FVR and TF10, they are both cooking up a storm, and it's a case of waiting for them to come into the pits, and the race will ignite once again.
Yep, but they might have a problem on their hands in the form of 2 Alpine cars. They are now together, and they are flying through the field, and they could potentially work together to make life difficult for the 2 championship contenders. If they can manage to do that, despite their tires being older, they could be on for another miracle for their team. And then P6 comes ever closer. They are, of course, taking on TES, who are currently far behind in P15 and P18. Their season, in a short summary, has been quite the nightmare. I think they could have been championship contenders. It just wasn't meant to be for the Williams drivers. And this time round, once again, they are a little bit on the back foot with 15th and 17th. Of course, there's still a lot of pit stops to come, so it might be a little bit better afterwards as Wojtek goes past Jeremy Gallonier on his fresh, hard tires. Into 14th he goes, but he's got a 5.7 second gap to the next car of Patrick Pillis, who is just behind the other group of cars who have already pitted quite early, especially Stephen and Giovanni, who have already got 5-lap old hard tires. Well, lap 15 right now, which means the pit stops for those who started on the hards are getting ever closer. It should not be more than 3 or 4-ish laps, I think, before they come in. They're just watching each other right now to see which one bails out first and tries to go for a little bit of an undercut. They know Stephen Vaso and his friends, so to say, are on their way to claim the lead of the race, but they will have much fresher and faster tires on those mediums, which means they'll definitely try and put up a big fight come the final few laps. We're halfway in the final race of the season. FVR lead 1 and 2 as they swap positions once more, but TF10 have got this under control. They can finish right here and claim the title no matter what.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're going to try to do. I don't think there's going to be any doubt in their minds that they don't mind about who wins this final race of the season. They're just going to sit. They're just going to sit very happily in 3rd and 4th, and FVR are going to have to do something to change that. And I think FVR are just going to have to maybe make a gamble, maybe back them up into the rest of the field. An undercut is a possibility to take that track position, but I think FVR are looking more at the overcut at this point. If my insight is to hold any bearing, they're going to try to go as long as they possibly can, as that's Zorzo off the circuit, and I believe that will be the track limit warning for the man in the lead of this race. Rens Thomason closer than ever to Tony Hitala, but not even looking, not even caring to shape up a move, sitting behind P3 and P4, very, very happy in those positions. Don't count out, though, Marcel Pabst sitting in P number 5. I think he could come through and throw a spanner into somebody's works, whether it's TF10, whether it's FVR. He will just try to be a nuisance, as there's a swap once again for FVR. I think their Rens looked for a little bit of a move down the inside line of the chicane, but FVR going side by side just shut that out before it even began.
I think Rens is just teasing them. He's just, hello, I'm here in your rearview mirrors, and now I'm going to try and attack you anyway. Because, you know, why not? If there's an opportunity, you might as well go for it. No risks. Just having a little bit of poke against the rival team. But they still hold 1st and 2nd. But Rens and Cloud don't care. As you said, they'll win no matter what happens if they finish in this order. Reminds me a little bit of the 2016 season, where Nico Rosberg could just cruise behind Lewis Hamilton, who was driving in first place, and no matter what happened, he would still win the championship anyway. It's a little bit of a flashback to that particular year. With the Mercedes leading against Rens, in which case the Mercedes are Lewis Hamilton and the Red Bulls are Nico Rosberg, pretty much, in this example. And then there is, of course, Marcel Paps just happily tagging along and see what he can do come the end of the race. He's the only driver who's managed to stick with the top 5. His teammate has been falling behind fast. Of course, he's got no DRS, so he cannot get himself towed along. He's driving a very lonely race. Maybe he is going to try and undercut the top 5 to get himself closer and into the mix for that win and help out his teammate for another ET8 victory. But let's see, Rens Thomason still just teasing the FVR drivers, getting close, but not close enough to make a proper move. They still have got those 2 positions under control. What's Rens going to do this time round? He once again is going to get boxed in by the FVR driver, but he still has decided to make a little bit of a small attack around the outside. No harm done though. Once again, he just keeps his position. A bit further back, in the meanwhile, Dennis Langrock is battling both EVE drivers, as he's having a tough job trying to get back ahead of them. They've managed, both of them, to overtake them, as they now slot into P10 and 11 and are chasing down, as we get a yellow flag, Tristan Derbecourt. That's Jeremy Gallonier, having spun out in the chicane, nearly spinning out again as he tries to recover.
Tony!
Oh no! What's happened? Tony in the pit entry!
He's crashed into the pit entry!
Oh no. That's the last thing they need to get those title hopes up, and those title hopes have gone down. He needs a fresh front wing. Disaster then for FVR, and that is the last thing they needed. Too much risk at a pit entry. That is not a good idea, and now potentially the title is pretty much gone. They will need an even bigger miracle to get things working. There he goes, out of the pit lane he goes, and all the way down to P15. Of course, many drivers need to stop still. Jonas Cryo has gone ahead, and Matteo Ramaria, I was about to say, crashes out, but he retires in the pit lane, so no safety car there, which probably would have made Tony even angrier with what he has just done on the pit entry wall. That is an absolute disaster, isn't it?
Absolute disaster for FVR. Tony Hitala now, he's about 9 seconds further back than where he would have wanted to be, or maybe 7 seconds. Maybe 9's a bit generous, but about 7 seconds further back than what he would have wanted to be. That is absolutely devastating stuff for Tony Hitala. And, well, he's just dropped now down the field. And I think that could be the championship challenge over. However, this could play into their hands, because now he's got the DRS, and he's going to try to work together with the drivers in front. Everybody, apart from Cloud in that top group coming to the pits now, Thomason, Zorzo and Marcel Paps, showing Hitala maybe how to go into the pit lane, and they've all gone in nice and cleanly coming out of it. It is going to be TF10 from TF10, then Diego Zorzo in P3 in this battle with Marcel Pabst in P4. We'll see where they come out in relation to Tony Hitala as they come out of the pit lane. Tony now coming down the start-finish straight. Marcel Pabst in the back of this field. He will be out ahead of Tony Hitala by a significant margin. I believe it's about 2.5 seconds between Marcel Pabst and Wojciech Steg. Then another 1.7 to Jonas Cryo, and another about 2.5 seconds back to Tony Hitala. So really not what he would have wanted to see. And now it's game on for Tony Hitala as he gets past Victor Vidler into P14. His next target, Conrad Bohm, in P13. And if they have any sorts of opportunity, it is now that he needs to fight his way forward if FVR want this title tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a shame. He needs a safety car right now to get closer to the rest at the very least, and that he needs at least one TF10 driver to crash out, but right now it looks very unlikely. TF10 has got it perfectly under control. Cloud comes in right now for his pit stop. That means Steven Vaso is going to lead from Marvin Golm and Tristan Derbecourt, who also have yet to pit. That means Dennis Langrock will be slotting into P2 after his rough race start. He suddenly finds himself on the podium. There goes Tristan, nearly sliding out of control, also nearly smashing into the pit wall entry. Goes into the pit lane. Marvin Golm stays out for now. Jeremy Gallonier then the first driver after 20 laps to get a 3-second time penalty slapped to his name, which is good news of course for ABS, who might just overtake them by the end of this race for P9 in the standings. But, of course, our focus is right now on those top 2 teams. They are a little bit further apart at the moment. Diego Zorzo is chasing down the EVE drivers who are right behind Dennis Langrock. Marvin Golm is still there. Something the drivers behind him don't like. There comes Trisk to get past the Ferrari into P3. He goes right behind Marvin Golm through the chicane. Both of them go. Looks like he just barely gets DRS. A tire difference despite 9 laps older. Looks like Marvin has got it perfectly under control. That's why he still happily carries on. And Trisk will not find a way past just yet on pure straight line speed. That might spell trouble for him. In the meanwhile, Rens has overtaken Diego Zorzo, who is now alone. Tony Hitala is still too far back. He's in a TES sandwich right now. Something he doesn't want to see. He would have probably preferred to be in a TF10 sandwich, because that would have meant he was fighting for a win, but no longer, unfortunately, as he's now far behind. There goes Trisk, trying to go around the outside of Marvin in turn 15. Doesn't happen. Marvin does go in, though. That means that obstacle is gone for those who have pitted, and now they're going to have to chase down Steven Vaso, who's managed to escape, and he is en route for a victory here in the final round.
Yeah, something else to mention as well is I mentioned that the DRS was going to help Tony Hitala. That has now been nullified because Zorzo and Thomason are now in a DRS strain with Galeotto, Langrock and Triske. And as much as that might be comfortable, Thomason doesn't want to be held up behind the EVE driver for too long. He sent it down the inside of Galeotto. Somehow he's got a better exit than Dennis Langrock. And he's going to now pull alongside Triske to make 3 places in one straight. The TF10 driver, with some incredible racecraft, has made his way through. Triske, with slightly less incredible racecraft, makes contact with Diego Zorzo on the exit as the FBR driver made his way through into P4. And now it's 2 EVE's drivers side by side behind the 2. Giovanni Galeotto coming out on top in that one, and Zorzo, knowing that he has to stay within range of Rens Thomason, has now made his way desperately past Dennis Langrock. They're almost back in that DRS of Steven Vaso. There's a second closer between Thomason and Vaso than it was on that previous lap. I think he's going to get DRS as soon as they get to the next detection point. Indeed, he will do. And they're just going to close with Vaso's tyres falling off a cliff. It's Thomason versus Zorzo. What can Zorzo do? The sole man who can help them take that title tonight, help them get anywhere near said title tonight. But they will be promised by the fact that Cloud has not had that pace advantage that Thomason has. He's not just fought his way forward. He is comfortable sitting in P8 because he knows that they don't have to take that sort of advantage now that Tony Hitala is out of sync with the rest of them. And I think if Hitala does close up to the field, it's 4.7 seconds the gap at the moment. If he does close, then it will be getting a move on for Cloud. They're going to try and make a move past Steven Vaso into P1. It's going to be 3 wide into the chicane. Vaso backs out of it, and that is Zorzo who takes the lead. It's Zorzo who's in control of this race, and it's Zorzo who needs to take a sole driver role, a lead driver role for FBR now. How long and how hard can he fight Rens Thomason in the last 7 laps of this Grand Prix?
He's backing them up, I think. They are trying to get past, but look at that. Diego has decided to make his Mercedes very wide, trying to make sure Tony Hitala gets close. All of the drivers behind are nearly within 1 second. He needs Tony to get this race under control, and that's starting to cause a little bit of chaos behind as Marcel Pabst moves ahead of Giovanni Galeotto in, what was it, turn 13 or 14. Another rare move in that corner as well. You can see the gap between Giovanni and Tony shrinking already 1 second smaller the gap is since half a lap ago, and that means Diego is going to do everything in his power to get the second driver back in play. This is the strategic play that I was talking about at the start of this race. It is what FVR needs right now, and you can think of it whatever you like. You can think it's dirty, you can think it's different, but it is a tactic he wants to employ right there. Tony Hitala's gap down a bit further right there, as you can see, 3.1 seconds right now. Diego Zorzo using all of his straight line speed to keep Rens Thomason behind. He's got the inside line in the chicane. Rens finds no way past. More carnage behind them. Trisk and Cloud fighting for a position. Another positive thing there for FVR's. Cloud might be in trouble right there. He wants to get past the EVE driver as fast as he can on those much fresher tires. He does so as they go into turn number 9 for the 23rd time. Right behind Dennis Langrock he is right now. That is Marcel Pabst following suit. He now decides to chase down Cloud despite his 3-second penalty right there, which will definitely hamper his chances of winning the race tonight. Diego still leads from the rest. Jonas Cryer now leads the Tony Hitala group. The gap is still 3 seconds, but it gets a little bit smaller through these corners. I think the rest of the drivers behind Diego realized what he's trying to do and are trying to make sure he will not be able to do it. Look at that. Rens wants to make a move in turn 1. Still can't get past as the gap shrinks more between P8 and P9. Maybe this could still be game on.
It's one of the hardest things to do in racing, to hold drivers back that are baying.
Look at them.
But at the moment, he's backing them into Dennis Langrock, into Stephen Vaso, as there's contact. Not sure who for, but I saw a little bit of ghosting in that battle. They've now got that DRS, and Rens Thomason will try to get past Diego. Diego, who's putting up an incredible defense so far, and now Rens dives to the inside. Stephen Vaso could look to the inside as well, but it's a late braking move for Diego Zorzo. How is he holding on to this P1? He's backed out of it, and it's been taken by Rens Thomason. Stephen Vaso takes P2, and that's Cloud through to P3. Zorzo all the way down to P number 4, and Dennis Langrock somehow dropping to P6.
Oh no!
Side by side. Cloud's ghosted. Through goes Zorzo. Through goes Marcel Pabst. Cloud gets back past Pabst, but Zorzo holds on to P2. It's 3 wide between the drivers just behind Cloud. And in the end, Marcel Pabst comes out on top ahead of Stephen Vaso. Rens Thomason is on top in this battle, and this is going to wage on right to the very end of this Grand Prix. Rens Thomason has the opportunity to control the pace, but look at what Tony Hitala, 0.8 seconds behind Giovanni Galliotto. The race is on, the objective has been completed, and Tony Hitala is back within range.
Wow, that's incredible. He's managed to get his teammate back in the game in P9, less than a second away from the drivers ahead, who have all got very old hard tires. But to be fair, those mediums are probably past their prime as well. Rens now leads the race. He's finally managed to get past Diego, who nearly went into a disastrous position right there. Cloud has gotten himself some damage by contact through other drivers. It's absolute chaos at the front group. Diego probably didn't really want Cloud to be the one to get through all of the chaos right there, right behind him. Oh, there goes Cloud. Never mind. He drops out of contention for the win. This is what FVR needs. The last thing that TF10 needs is to lose one driver. Down to P10. It's still good enough to claim the title, but it's potential disaster for the Red Bull team. Now the gloves have come off. We've still got 4.5 laps-ish to go, and things are starting to unfold fast. Tony Hitala has gone up to P8. He's still close enough to get to his teammate right there, but it is now Marcel Pabst who is starting to lose a little bit of time there to the top 2 who've managed to get away. Diego versus Rens. Diego wants to back Rens up probably to get the others back in DRS range, because that's the only way he can get his teammate even closer. But that is potential disaster then for TF10 after Tony Hitala crashed himself into the pit entry. It was Cloud who lost it in the chicane due to contact with another driver. It was so chaotic, I personally couldn't see who it was from. But it's definitely war has started to break out between these two teams.
And it's what we've been cooking up all season long. Some incredible battles. Diego's also, by the way, unsuccessful in holding up Rens Thomason down that last straight. And Zorzo's going to try to pick up that DRS and try to retake that lead that Thomason has just stolen away. But Rens Thomason back into the lead. Zorzo with that DRS will hold it around the outside line as they head through the second DRS straight on this circuit. They built up a gap of 1.3 seconds to Marcel Pabst. And I think these two are going to try to scrap right to the end. That's what Thomason will want anyway, because he's just going to hold the lead. He's going to hold one of these top 2 positions and then take home the title just like that. Thomason on the inside. Zorzo somehow impossibly holding onto an outside line, but being forced to back out of it. They are both just scrapping away. The gap has grown to Marcel Pabst. It's 1.2 seconds now, so DRS will once again not be available for the ET8 driver, and it's a straight scrap at the end of this one. Lap 27 of this, and it's fair to say for FBR, they need to get Marcel Paps back into range now. Tony Hitala needs to get past Trisquet now. And this lap could decide the entirety of FBR's season.
Absolutely, yes. It's quite incredible what we're watching right here. It is Marcel Paps who does get back into DRS range, and at the same moment, towing Tony Hitala along, who makes up another position against Trisk there for P6, but they're gonna go side by side onto the first back straight right there. As you can see ahead of them, some potential fights brewing up as well. It looks like Tony Hitala needs to get this position. He needs to get past Trisk. Trisk is not the one to back out that easily. He has no choice though. His tires are pretty much worn right now. 17 lap old hards against 9 lap old mediums. Looks like those mediums are just slightly better, but once again Trisk gets a better exit. Tony Hitala loses a load of positions, even against Jonas Cryo for P7. That is more bad news then for FVR. TF10 are getting this more and more under control with just over 2 laps remaining. It is their game to lose.
And Tony Hitala getting so close to Jonas Cryo. He knows that he needs to make this move so soon. But Cryo just putting up an incredible defense for that P7, and the ET8 man staying in there. And while one ET8 man is possibly costing them their championship battle, the other one, Marcel Paps, could go to aid them. But Zorzo needs to retake this P1 and back Thomason back up into Paps if he wants to do anything in this Grand Prix. But at the moment, over the last lap, Thomason has been by far the quicker driver of the two. And Diego Zorzo, with that DRS, he's got 2 straight to make a difference in this Grand Prix. The DRS will be open right about now, and he needs to close in at 6/10. Then it's 5/10, and he's got that slipstream now. That slipstream effect will come into it. It's 3/10. It's 2. Is it going to be a late move for Diego Zorzo? No. It's another straight that he's going to try to attack. By the way, in the meantime, Jonas Cryo and Trisquet fighting for P6. Tony Hitala cannot find a way through at the moment. Zorzo cannot find a way past Renz. His first opportunity will be this long hairpin. It's Thomason who's going to hold that middle line, just taking the racing line. And Zorzo cannot do anything to attack. He stays in P2 for now, and Jonas Cryo in P6 has lost DRS to Dennis Langerup. Something has to go wrong, but very wrong for Renz Thomason in this last lap. If FVR are going to have to take the title, I think TF10 might have just done it.
They have. There's only one more lap to go, but it's not gonna be enough unless Ren suddenly crashes out and finishes last. Then FVR might still have a shot, but with only P2 and P8 on the board right now, I do not know which points are for what position from the top of my head, but I don't think FVR are going to do it no matter what at the moment. Rens Thomason might just slot in a 3rd win for TF10 to crown their season as the new champions. They will take the crown from FVR. Last season they fought so hard, but they were on the back foot pretty much every race. As you can see, one of the McLarens there getting lapped. Jeremy Gallagher there on fresh softs trying to set the fastest lap. It's not working in between all the traffic. There comes Diego Zorzo for the final time on back straight number 1 through the chicane one more time. There is Marcel Paps bumping almost into the rear of Diego Zorzo because the McLaren is obstructing the view pretty much, but he doesn't care anymore. It's the last lap of the last race of this final season on F124, and there comes Diego Zorzo. At least a little bit of honor for the team as he gets into the lead. Rens doesn't really care anyway. They do have the title. He will give this win potentially then to Diego Zorzo. He doesn't want to take a risk, or does he? Because he's still a racing driver, still wants to go for it. Right behind, more fights going on, but it is Rens pushing Diego to the absolute limit. Diego Zorzo could go on for a 3rd win for the team, but there comes Rens Thomason. Tries to go around the outside. What's he going to do in the final corner? More drivers right behind. There's Dennis Langerup trying to get Marcel off the podium, but it is Diego winning the race just barely. But it is the title in the hands for sure now for TF10. They've taken the crown after a long and grueling and difficult season. Finally, they have beaten the unbeatable team from Season 4. They have claimed the crown in true style. Maybe they could have won this race and rounded it off even more brilliantly as a cherry on top. That wasn't to be, but they have got it anyways. Well done to TF10, well done to FVR for trying to hold them up for as long as they could, but it wasn't to be. And now they will be the hunters and TF10 will be the hunted.
Yes, well, what a race we had there. And I mean, Renz got as close as he possibly could to taking that glory home. The send in the final corner was so uncharacteristic for everything we've seen of Renz Thomason across this race. He's been so well managed just to make those moves at the right time. And then that send right at the end, uncharacteristic, but I'm sure he's glad it didn't cost him anything there, because had he lost that and Diego Zorzo as well had been able to get it going, that would have been one of the most dramatic finales to a season that you will ever have. But in the end, FVR TF10 both scrapping away at the top for almost the entire race. But in the end, it's FVR that led TF10. But TF10 won't care, because it's TF10 that lead FVR in that title. It's Diego Zorzo who took the victory. Renz Thomason will be one of the two holding that title and holding that constructor's crown as they take it home. Dennis Langrock in P3. Stephen Vaso doing so well to hold us in P4, with Triske in P5. Tony Hitala ended up in P6, fighting his way past a very strong defending Jonas Cryo in P7, with Giovanni Galliotto in P8. Then it's Marcel Pabst in P9, and I don't think that's the lowest he's going to fall, because he was the one that made the contact with Cloud, Cloud himself, in P10. Then it's Vorstadt Steg, Tristan Derbecourt, Conrad Bohm, Victor Widler, Patrick Pillis, Alex Lamas, Nando Moreira, Marvin Gome, Jeremy Gallonier, and then Mattia Ramarini, the only non-finisher. But what an incredible Grand Prix that was. It just had so many moments.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a little bit at a loss for words. TF10 have done it. FVR will have to take second place. Still good prize money for them either way. I'm trying to figure out which team is going to take third. I think TTM is quite safe despite ET8's brilliant showing tonight. I don't think they've scored more than 50 points. TTM will take a third position. ET8 I think is safe in fourth. NLR I don't think I've pipped ET8 to P5, but we'll have to figure that one out later. One thing that is for sure is that these final results are not final, because there will probably be a lot of investigations, and it will be later down the week until we can properly show you the actual standings of this season. One thing we know for sure, I don't think there's anything that is going to change it, is that TF10 have won the title. However, first and foremost, we're going to listen to Dennis Langrock, who managed to finish third. Difficult qualifying, Dennis, first and foremost, of course. Then came the race, but yeah, that was quite chaotic, especially by the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, hello, firstly, and yeah, it was really chaotic. Yeah, quali we had some issues. I had very much like lags, very hard, and yeah, done my first run, then pitted, left the session and rejoined. But there were still some lags, and the whole race I had like FPS drops, and it was so hard to drive. But yeah, we managed to get P3, so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think your team finished third in the standings as well. Is that the position your team can be proud of?
Yeah, like we improved very much to last season, I think. I think last season was like 5 or 6 around. So yeah, very good work from the team. Also thanks to my engineer Jack, and thanks to all of the team. We done a good job this season, and yeah, let's keep moving forward for the first places next time.
Yeah, and then going back to this race a little bit, which moment was key for your podium, do you think?
I think the pit that oh no. It was key, like the EVE guy behind me. Like he fighted very much. That was very good for me. And also the pit, that I was not alone on the mediums and had someone to work with. Like I put it one lap too late, I think. I should have gone with Steven, but yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Joseph, anything from you?
Well, I mean, just a quick one. Do you reckon that had there been a lap or two more, do you reckon the win was on?
Nah, I don't know if the mediums are faster at the last lap. Yeah, would have been very hard because like Tony Tala catched up. I don't know. It was very chaotic. I don't know if I could have gone for the win, but yeah, I think so.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us, Dennis, and enjoy third place.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Moving up one position, we are going to have a little chat with Diego Zorzo, who probably was having a chat with somebody else in the waiting room. We probably interrupted the conversation right there. Anyway, Diego, second place for you and second place for the team. First question, season overall, how do you guys look back on it?
Yeah, it was an unlucky season. I think we could have gotten the championship without a bit of, well, a couple of mistakes or bad luck, but yeah, still TF10 deserved the title, and congrats to them.
Yeah, going into this race, you knew you had a mountain to climb. 41 points, then pole position, which meant 39 points to go. Was there any hope for a title tonight?
Yeah, I mean, at first I remember they removed the penalty. Sorry, they put a penalty to TF10 last week, and they deemed it invalid. So we're pretty happy with their pen. But then when they removed it, we knew it was pretty difficult because we needed them to basically, yeah, finish out of the points, one of them, and we still tried. But you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you can win, sometimes you have to lose.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a little bit far away, but next season you will be the Hunters once again. What's that? What does that mean to you?
Well, to try and get the championship back, of course. We won it last season. We didn't win it this time, but we'll make sure we win it the next one.
All right. Joseph, anything from you?
Well, to be fair, I don't really have a question. I just want to say that defense earlier was very, very. It was very strong. Was there any ideas of you just? I guess there is a question actually. Were you trying to back him up into the rest of the field, trying to get him overtaken?
I was trying to help Tony get back into the train because we needed a 1-2 and we needed one TF10 out of the points, which nearly happened with Cloud, and then we needed the other one in P3 or P4. That was possible, but sadly Tony had a mistake in the box, and yeah, I did everything I could to back them up within the limits. Obviously, I don't think we even touched Renz and I, so it was pretty clean racing within the limits of the rulebook. So that's always good to say that it wasn't dirty. It was a pretty clean fight for the championship.
Exactly, and at least you got the win in the final race, so that is a little bit of a shine to the end of the season.
Yeah, of course. I would have preferred to have the win for the team, but yeah, it was not enough.
Well, let's find out next season what's going to happen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And now I think we're going to have to drag in one of the TF10 people in the waiting room. And I think I'm going to drag in our man finishing second in the race first and foremost. It is fellow Dutchman Rens Thomassen. Rens,
Hello.
second place in the race, but the title is all yours. How do you feel?
Of course, it's a nice feeling to get the championship with the team. So I'm quite happy to get it all done and get the season wrapped up. So yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, of course. This race was, 39 points. You had the advantage going into the race, even with the pole position from FVR. Did that relieve any of the pressure tonight?
I think, yeah, we all knew we had a bit of a gap, so we could just stay like, yeah, could have, yeah, a bit safe. So we played it all safe, and yeah, unfortunately I had like screen freeze in qualifying, so yeah, that was not ideal to say. But the race pace was really good, so made my way up to P2, and then yeah, a bit of a fight last lap, but unfortunately couldn't do more than P2. So yeah, quite happy with that.
The moment that Cloud spun, was that a heart-stopping moment in terms of championship hopes?
Yeah, of course, it's not nice to hear that your teammate got spun around. So yeah, I had to take it safe. So just yeah, keeping out of the white lines, and yeah, I had to take it safe. But when I knew like we are going to the last sector, I was taking no risk. So yeah, we just had to take it safe today. So we did it.
Joseph, anything from you?
Well, just one about I mean, you've only had one race so far in the PC. How has it been switching over from doing the console side of things to the PC side?
It's of course a quite big step. New people to work with, and of course another platform. So it was a bit, yeah, you need to adapt a little bit. So yeah, I was first few days was a bit of searching, but now I'm coming back to the good form. So I'm quite happy with that. So but I'm loving the platform. So yeah, it's only a good switch, I think.
Right, excellent. Well, many congratulations to you and the team, and thank you, Rens, for joining us.
Thank you.
There's a few people left here in this commentary box. It's quite crowded in here, actually, to be fair. We've got so many people here. But I think it's fair to at least interview one of the race engineers. Who can I give the honors from all of you?
I mean, everyone did their what they needed to do, especially today. It was great race. We managed it perfectly. We didn't take any risk at all. We just stayed behind the FVR guys until pit stops. Then our plan was to just follow them in, so we can, copy them. We are still with them. And we are good at that point. But then in the pit stops, Tony went so late in the pits we didn't have time to react. But luckily he went so late that he crashed into the wall and got damaged. So I mean, it was quite a fun race. It was nice that we had the points gap, so we could take it easily and no need to make any insane strategy calls or overtake 1,000 people. It was just a good race.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the season overall, you were going into the season as I'd like to say, as the hunters. How was your approach against a team such as FVR?
I mean, our only goal was to win the championship. It was like in every competition that we are in, we just want to win the championship. Or maybe not easy race, that's not maybe realistic with all the esports teams, but all the community events, we just want to win the championship. It was just our goal.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, last season, it was quite a difference between last season and this season. What do you think made the difference for you claiming the title this time round?
I mean, we had good races. I'd say, like, in qualifying, we were not at the top. Like, maybe as much as we would have wanted to be in the races, we were so good. Like, we didn't have many races where we did a lot of mistakes and got penalties. Like, I mean, last week Jeddah was a bit of a bad race. We didn't do that well, but in the end got still decent points. So we had a good gap here last season. Second last race, it was quite a different because of the safety car that came out just when we had went past the pit lane. So we could not box and we lost everything there. And then into the last race, we were so far behind that we just could not win the championship. I think before the second last round, we were equal on points with FVR, but then just had bad last two races, and they got the title.
You've got to turn around, so well done to you. Joseph, anything from you?
Well, to be fair, just well done to all the TF10 people making the comms box very busy on the performances this season. Because I mean, there's a reason I'm here talking about it, and there's a reason I'm not out there with you guys. So fair enough. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you all for joining us here tonight. Enjoy the celebrations and the title for this season. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, and that officially concludes the season. It's been a season for the history books, I have to say. It's the rivalry continued with TF10 and FVR pretty much at each other's throats. Not only on track, but also in the steward's room, where sometimes they were pushing the rulebooks to the limits with all the reports happening all over the place from one team to the other. They were trying to make sure to squeeze every possible point out of the championship, but this time it fell into TF10's direction. So good on them, commiserations, and also congratulations to the FPR for second place, because it's still brilliant despite everything that happened. TTM, of course, a great job for third. There will be potentially some investigations, so these are, once again, not the final results yet. At least for the top 2 they are. Below that, not 100% sure just yet. Joseph, any closing words from you?
See you again on F125, hopefully. If it's not, if it goes in a higher direction, then I'm very, very excited for season number 6 of CSS. So, well, we will see. We will see you then.
Yes, definitely. And then to round out the season, a huge thank you once again to everybody supporting the streams and watching all throughout these 12 races here in Season 5. A big thank you to Byron, and of course, best wishes to him and his family in the upcoming difficult months for them, hoping that things will get better soon. And of course, big thanks to CSS as well for once again giving me this position to commentate alongside so many great people and to so many great drivers and race engineers who all fight very hard for their positions. This race in particular was a bit of a difficult one for me. The drivers who've seen the message in the Discord, of course, know my situation. So yeah, a huge thank you. It's been an absolute blessing to be here. It's going to be a difficult period, a very difficult period for me in the following week. So this has been a brilliant distraction, I have to say, from everything that has been going on. And I know she's not listening, but all I can say to my mother is, you've been an absolute beast fighting ALS. It's been a tough 4 years, and all I can say is, yeah, I do not know what to say. It's been a good one. On to you, Ace.
I just want to say one quick word for everyone. Thank you all for this season. Either if you've commented, you've raced, you've engineered, you've just watched the stream in general. Thank you all, everyone. You've given us the best season that we've had in our history so far. It's going to be hopefully even better, obviously, for F125 if the game forms as expected. But in terms of Frost yourself, you've been here since Season 2. You've done Silicon, you've been with Silicon. Thank you. Cockhouse, you've jumped in when needed, even on very late notice at times. But it's a season that is going to be remembered for ages. And in the end, obviously, TF10 winning, but it was fought to the end. The gap, by the way, before shooting, it's 25 points between TF10 and FER. TTM does get third, ET8 fourth, and FER in fifth in the end. That is all pre-shooting, of course. You have to obviously factor in if any penalties are coming away. But either way, thank you everyone for the season. There will be more on F125, and just an overall. Frost, I've got something
Yes.
planned for you.
Oh,
I've got something planned. Just
Okay.
watch out for the next couple of weeks.
okay.
So
I'll
So,
keep my eyes.
I'll let you wind up.
Yes, thanks. Once again, as I said, many thanks to everybody supporting here. Also, many thanks for the kind messages over the past few days. The many, lots of love sent my way. Been absolutely amazing. So yeah, you guys are brilliant. And have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Until we meet again, see you very soon indeed.